You are not wrong. And actually, I agree with you on Harry and Meghan. I think there's definitely, we've come to a position in the British press, of which I am part, I would admit, that nothing they can do is ever right.
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a great week. To all of my house guests, come in, make yourselves at home, make yourselves comfortable. If you're passing by and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Chez, this is Chez M0i. Welcome to my place. At the end of last month, William and Kate had their 14th wedding anniversary. I couldn't even tell you what they did to celebrate because, number one, I have absolutely zero interest, and number two, there appeared to be hardly any media coverage, either social or mainstream. Conversely, however, Meghan merely putting a mood board on her Instagram account to celebrate 7 happy years of marriage to Harry had her secret admirers clamouring out of the woodwork. The crones zoomed in, forensically examined, scrutinised and criticised this simple post showing Harry and Meghan's love journey so far.
We've had Megxit, we've had Harry and Meghan leave the royal family because, as they said, they wanted more privacy, they didn't want to have to deal with the press. And then we see they didn't want their children to be shared. I totally agree with all of that. But then we see these very intimate family moments that she is putting out. And I feel, as I think I probably have always said, it was never that Meghan wanted privacy. She just wanted it on her terms.
Right, let's bring Kathy into this. So the picture that gets me on that mood board is the one which is in utero. In other words, inside her own womb. And it is Archie, her son, you know, in the womb. And you just think, blimey, you know, some people wouldn't even send that to their parents or parents-in-law.
I think you'd have to call that a fetal attraction.
What do you think of sharing that publicly?
I can't believe that they're oversharing to this extent. But I would also say that Brits have become oversharers. When I first moved here 35 years ago, you had to do open heart surgery to see what was going on inside an English person. You know, their leg could be hanging by one sinew and you'd say, how are you? And they'd say, you know, tip-top, right?
All good.
But now we're all sitting in our truth. I mean, I'd rather sit in pigeon poop than sit in my truth. And I think a lot of it had to do with Harry and Meghan sort of stripping off their emotional underwear in this psychological striptease that reveals all.
Now, the one redeeming feature of this particular episode was the verbal backlash from callers who were disgusted by what they were hearing.
How do I feel about it? Vanessa?
Yes.
I feel really happy with Harry and Meghan. She is a woman. It was her anniversary, Vanessa.
Yes.
Right? There's no need for all this cattiness and bitchiness. It's ridiculous. And the other lady, the blonde,
Emily, yes, she's a royal expert,
so
yes.
boring.
Oh, you think she's boring? Oh my gosh, I don't think she's boring. I think she's really something. She's very touching.
So I've seen her on all the other gutter rubbish what she's on.
Oh gosh.
Right?
Gosh, that's very...
Who's being catty now?
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, you hear what Kathy says, that Kathy let the novelist, you know, who's being catty, Merva? It might be you, perhaps, is it?
I don't think it's me, Vanessa. These ladies are catty.
Oh dear.
Merva.
It's their anniversary. Let them enjoy it.
Merva, absolutely. People should always be allowed to enjoy their anniversary. But the whole thing, I've been covering the royals now for 15 years. I've met Meghan. She's lovely in person. I really liked her. They got married on my birthday. Well done them. But I think we also have to look at the reason why she's making these things public. I think it's fair comment that we should ask why and why now.
What do you think of that, Merva?
Why you never go on about the lazy one, Kate? Now stop, it's ridiculous.
Gosh, that seems very unkind as well, because we know she's been incredibly unwell and she's been incredibly brave and sort of, you know, honest about the whole thing. Merva, thank you so much for the call. Interesting to have you. Okay, let's get back to your calls on Meghan, because they are flowing in thick and fast. Do you think the Duchess is oversharing on social media, particularly as they've called, as the Sussexes, for privacy? Let's talk to Anne in Nottinghamshire about this. Anne, how are you feeling about this one? Thanks for ringing.
I think that I'm getting tired of poor Harry and Meghan being criticised for everything. That's what I think. I think it was to celebrate their 7 years together, and they're always being criticised. I remember when Meghan was holding her bump, she was criticised for doing that, but Kate held her bump, and in fact, Harry was criticised for the book, but in fact his father did Dimbleby. The Duchess of York did everything to advertise her royalness, and in fact everything is done towards Meghan. I think it's appalling. They said that she was bullying people in the royal household, but everybody knows in the royal household that the king actually throws things at stuff when he gets angry. On the Duke of York.
I'll check that with Emily. Does the king throw things at stuff when he gets angry?
Anne, you are not wrong. And actually, I agree with you on Harry and Meghan. I think there's definitely, we've come to a position in the British press, of which I am part, I would admit, that nothing they can do is ever right. They can't say or do anything right. And you are right, the king in the past, as Prince of Wales, and indeed still as king, does have a temper, as does William, as does Harry, and things have been thrown. The bullying thing, I'm afraid, that's slightly different. I mean, I've spoken to a number of people who were terrified of Meghan, but you are absolutely right to point out that there is a bit of hypocrisy with Harry and Meghan can never do anything.
Somehow different rules apply.
Yes.
And thanks so much for the call. Excellent point. Let's go to Steph in London. How do you feel, Stephanie, looking at this mood board or this collage? I think you've rather liked it. You've liked seeing those pictures.
Yeah, hello ladies. I think it was really nice to share for people like us who miss them, who wish they were here. So it's really nice to share here and then. She didn't overshare. She shared what she wants us to see. And there's nothing wrong with it because she has a lot of video, a lot of pictures, but she shared what she wants us to probably comment or wish them well again or things like that. I don't think she overshared. I don't think it's something wrong when she shared. Nothing wrong with somebody who is a mother, a wife, a human being like me and you want to share.
And
obviously, I'm not.
Stephanie, the picture of Prince Archie in utero, you know, in the womb, the ultrasound picture, you think that's a fine thing to share with the entire world? You don't feel that's a little bit private, do you?
Yeah, but that picture, we don't even see the form of the child, the way they look. It's just like a little design. That's how it looks like. It's nothing wrong with it. She only sharing what she wants us to share.
I agree.
She appreciates life. It's the way she showed it, or the way I see it, it's not like, oh no, actually looks like when it was in the belly. No, it's not. It's just like a little design. She shared it, and it was really nice for us to see it. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just that they criticize and the moral mindset of some of the lady that say that why she's carrying it now, why? It's like there's something behind it. That there's a bombshell coming after why she's sharing. She's allowed to share it, ladies.
All right, Stephanie, I'm going to say thank you to you.
But like some other similar shows, this one may be facing the chop. Now let me be clear, guys, it is with extreme reluctance that I read this next article because it comes from thesun.co.uk, published on the 23rd of May 2025, and the headline reads, "Worrying Time. Channel 5 bosses in crisis talks about future of Vanessa Feltz's show, just 2 months after launch. Channel execs fear a revamp is needed in order to save the show." The veteran broadcaster was handed her own self-titled programme on the network 2 months ago, but it has so far failed to deliver the ratings that Channel 5 were hoping for, throwing the entire future in jeopardy. The Sun understands that head honchos of the programme have held crunch talks about what to do with the show and if there is even a future for Vanessa on Channel 5. It had been hoped that fans who tuned in for Jeremy Vine on the channel will stick around to see Vanessa and her celebrity guests, but the ratings have tumbled. An insider told The Sun the future of Vanessa's show is very much uncertain for the time being. Bosses have been locked in crisis talks and have been planning ways to immediately revamp the programme if there is to be a chance that it could be saved. Only 62,000 viewers tuned into Monday's episode, and there is a feeling that it has been a total disaster behind the scenes. Jeremy regularly gets 200,000 watching his show, but they all seem to reach for the remote and switch off when Vanessa comes on. The insider revealed that staff working on the programme have been further thrown by ITV's recent announcement of cuts across the daytime sector. Knowing that Vanessa brings in far less viewers than Lorraine and Loose Women, who are under threat, they fear it is only a matter of time until the plug is pulled for good. They added, "Everyone is worried and they all feel bitterly disappointed that Vanessa's show hasn't taken off as planned." Despite this, another insider admitted to The Sun that Vanessa's time slot has always typically received less viewers than Jeremy's on-air slot and, at present, was still performing in line with what is expected of early afternoons on Channel 5. When contacted by The Sun, a Channel 5 spokesperson said there are no current plans for any changes. As with all live shows, we continue to evolve with our audience. What audience? Vanessa's programme launched to much fanfare earlier this year as she made her return to daytime TV hosting. And then it talks about how she hosted for ITV between 1994 and 1998. There's a row about her salary. She demanded 2.75 million. Then a year later, she hosted a similar show for BBC One, got axed after one series. Then in 2011, Channel 5 revived her show and poor ratings. And then 14 years later, Channel 5 are suffering the same fate. Blah, 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 blah. With everything that she's been through in her personal life, this is just another in a long line of detractors. Listen, at the end of the day, you can say what you want to about Meghan. But if it's unwarranted, if you have no basis for what you say, don't expect life to be rosy every single day of your life. It's not rosy every single day of anyone's life, but for people who have nothing but criticism for people they don't know, it's especially difficult when they face problems later on. So her having her programme being axed is not a surprise to me. It is just a bunch of bitter old women. They remind me of that Shakespeare play, Macbeth, with the witches round the cauldron. That's what they remind me of. And if you're going to inadvertently put curses on people you don't know, don't be surprised if the curse comes back to bite you in the bum. There is no shortage of old media crones here in the UK. I didn't think Sourpuss Seward could get any more sour, but she clearly failed to engage her tiny brain before confirming what we who support the Sussexes knew all along.
So do you remember everyone, when they got married, a lot of members actually of the royal family even said it won't last 5 years. But it has.
It has. Yeah,
It's lasted 7.
Yeah.
This article is from feminegra.com, published on the 22nd of May 2025, and the headline reads, Ingrid Seward says royals expected Meghan Sussex and Prince Harry to divorce within 5 years. Royal commentator Ingrid Seward, speaking in an interview alongside a photo of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle kissing on their wedding day, highlighting Seward's claim that the royal family expected their marriage to fail. And the byline says, and somehow they still want you to believe Meghan was greeted with open arms. Ingrid Seward, one of Britain's most enduring anti-Sussex critics and royal commentators, just gave away the royal family's game. Appearing on The Sun's royal exclusive show, she casually revealed that members of the royal family told her back in 2018 they didn't think Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex's marriage would survive 5 years. That kind of open speculation wasn't just gossip, it was part of a broader campaign to undermine a relationship they never intended to support. Now, 7 years into a marriage that's still going strong, it's clear that prediction wasn't based on concern, it was rooted in hostility. And no one has embodied that hostility more consistently than Ingrid Seward herself. When Ingrid Seward let it slip that the royals expected a 5-year expiration date on the Sussex marriage, she confirmed what many already knew. The Windsors were briefing against Meghan from the beginning. The term degree wife, a cruel reference to the duration of an undergraduate degree, didn't emerge from thin air. It was a reflection of how some within the palace saw her. Temporary, disposable, unwanted. The strategy wasn't passive. Palace staffers and the press they fed worked to make life unbearable for Meghan, from emotional distress during her pregnancy to relentless smears in the tabloids. Their campaign aimed to isolate her. Even when Harry and Meghan left the UK, the institution didn't back off. If anything, the attacks intensified. That tells us something important. They weren't waiting for the marriage to fail, they were trying to make it happen. Ingrid Seward built her brand by undermining Meghan Sussex. Seward constantly amplified the royal family's narrative. Her role as editor of Majesty magazine gave her a polished platform to push palace talking points under the guise of commentary, and her commentary has always followed the same tired arc: attack Meghan's character, minimise her pain, and ignore the palace's role in it all. She called Meghan's 7-year anniversary post, a sweet collage of memories, narcissistic, as though sharing personal milestones were a crime exclusive to California. She also accused Meghan of acting in the Oprah interview, even though she had not seen it. That's not an opinion, it's propaganda. Seward was part of the now infamous group of royal commentators who were caught on camera offering detailed reactions to that Oprah special before it had aired. Ethical journalism it was not. That is what makes her recent admission so significant. For once, she told the truth, and that truth exposes the lie behind years of royal PR about how warmly Meghan was welcomed. The real narcissism is in the palace. While Seward scoffs at Meghan's celebration of her marriage, the rest of the royal family continues to stage carefully curated displays of affection with press photographers, drone shots and glossy captions in tow. William and Kate post anniversary photos. Charles and Camilla commemorate their relationship with professional portraits. These are standard moves for public figures, yet somehow only Meghan gets called out for posting a lovely mood board, something completely normal for her generation. That double standard reveals what this was always about: control. Meghan didn't follow the script. She didn't defer to the hierarchy. She brought star power, independence and a global voice into a family that wanted her quiet and grateful. When that didn't happen, they decided she had to go. Now, Meghan and Harry are still married, still thriving, and still loving each other out loud. Meanwhile, the royal commentators who bet against them are left recycling old predictions that never came true. The royal family never wanted it to work. Sue's admission isn't just a slip, it's a confession. The royal family never backed Meghan. They planned for her failure from the start. They smiled for the cameras at St George's Chapel while quietly betting against her behind the scenes. Every cruel headline, every smear was part of a coordinated effort to break her down and drive her out. But the Sussexes didn't just survive, they outlasted the rot. Their marriage endured everything thrown at it, and it's still standing. So the next time you see a tabloid whispering about divorce, remember, it's not based on facts. It's a projection. It's the fantasy of those who never wanted them to last, now dressing up wishful thinking as news. And every time Ingrid Seward opens her mouth, she makes that truth even plainer. We already know the primary reason why these absolutely vile creatures chase after Meghan relentlessly. But in my mind, there's another reason why the anti-Sussex mob and the establishment chase Meghan like ravenous Rottweilers. She unknowingly allowed Harry to escape the same fate as his great auntie Margaret. The firm expected Princess Margaret to act as the spare in every single sense of the word, to keep a low profile and not bring any shame, disgrace or embarrassment to the crown, more specifically to her sister Queen Elizabeth. As a child in the 70s and 80s, I'd always heard about the scandals Margaret was involved in, particularly in relation to her love life. In the 1950s, Margaret was forbidden to marry her father's equerry, Peter Townsend, because he was divorced and it was something that was looked down upon by the institution. Her volatile marriage to Anthony Armstrong-Jones and her 8-year relationship with Roddy Llewellyn, which was frowned upon because he was 18 years her junior and she was seeing him while she was still married. Margaret had no purpose. Margaret had no direction. She wasn't given anything to do. If she wasn't hosting or attending parties in London, accompanied by celebrity friends, she was escaping to the island of Mystique, which I understand is where William and Kate visit from time to time. She was rarely seen without a cigarette in her hand and was also a heavy drinker, seemingly using these vices as a coping mechanism, a kind of self-medication, to deal with personal issues, boredom and depression. Ultimately, her health suffered because of these vices. She contracted hepatitis due to the heavy drinking, but her reported cessation of the drinking led to increased smoking, which unavoidably affected her lungs, and she died in 2002, having suffered a 4th stroke at the age of 71. During his late teens and in his 20s, Harry's life mirrored Margaret's to a certain degree. It could be argued that his partying and temper tantrums were not only due to a lack of purpose or direction, but more so as an act of rebellion and resentment because of the profound effect his mum's death had had on him. It's understandable, therefore, why him serving in the army was so important to him, because he finally had a purpose. It's also understandable why he was so angry when an Australian media outlet revealed his location, no doubt prompted by the men in grey suits who wanted Harry to become totally invisible and physically and psychologically disintegrate into obscurity, just like his great auntie Margaret. What the firm failed to comprehend, however, was that this taste of service motivated Harry to continue to be purposeful, whether he was part of the institution or not, fully inspired by his mum's path after she was excised from that institution. The anti-Sussex mob conveniently forget that Harry, by his own admission, not hearsay, always wanted to leave the machinations of the royal family behind the scenes.
This was Harry's decision to move away from what he'd obviously imagined was going to be his future and his destiny. There was always a sense that Meghan had to prove herself worthy of Britain, prove herself worthy of her husband, prove herself worthy of her position in the royal family. It's a lot to ask of any individual.
The British public opinion is that it's all Meghan's fault.
I've seen little cartoons of me on all fours with her holding a dog lead and me wearing the dog collar. How predictable that, the woman is to be blamed for the decision of a couple. In fact, it was my decision. She never asked to leave. I was the one that had to see it for myself. But it's misogyny at its best.
Meghan was simply the catalyst for that exit, and the irony was that she'd left everything behind in her native California, fully prepared to serve the institution and the people of the country of her husband's birth. While the detractors double and triple down on their efforts to demonise Meghan, there seems to be the odd one who is starting to question what is actually going on within her own profession.
Is that the correct reaction, that you didn't mind the show?
I didn't mind it at all. In fact, I find it rather pleasant. Very, very gentle, nice wallpaper. It was pretty. It really annoys me when people have commented after, well, the pile-on of criticisms annoyed me. But people said, well, where was the substance? Where was the substance? This is a lifestyle show. It's frilly, it's frothy, it's pleasant. Oh, it's like sitting there having honey dribble in your mouth. I mean, what do you expect? What kind of substance? And I was pleasantly surprised. I watched it because I was doing a radio interview about it immediately afterwards. I've only watched the first one. And I thought, well, this is quite interesting. I even picked up one or two little tips, It was interesting to watch Meghan making candles, which she hadn't done before. I thought it was most interesting. You have bath bombs, and if you put a bath bomb in, you get all that stuff that comes out of it, all the flowery bits and everything gets stuck down your plug hole, and you've got to clean the bath. Well, she decided to put all those bits and pieces in a little bag, little tea bag with a ribbon, and put that in your bath. That's quite clever, isn't it? So I don't understand why everyone in the media seems to have decided to say it's absolutely the worst thing ever on television. I thought it was quite charming. Good on her.
You spent a lot more time than most people with Princess Diana, which of course I am very, very envious of. Can you imagine Diana doing something like this, or is this not necessarily the path she would have gone down?
No, I don't think Diana would have done anything like this, not because it was beneath her, but because she had different, she did have rather more serious ideas and campaigns, perhaps. But this is what Meghan Markle, as she was good at before she met Harry. I mean, she was an influencer. She was a stylist or a lifestyle guru. She was doing very well, and she's gone back, as she says, to her roots. Why are we knocking her? Why are people making all these unpleasant headlines and knocking her? I just think, I think it's become quite cruel.
Why do you all want the Duchess of Sussex to fail so badly? She married a prince, she left the royal family, she's building her new life on her terms, and somehow y'all still mad. She's not scamming anyone, she's not hurting anyone, she's literally minding her own business and building her empire. Every time she puts something out, a podcast, a website, a lifestyle brand, a jar of spread, y'all start foaming at the mouth. That's not critics, that's obsessive. Plot twist, she's gonna win with or without your approval.
Countering the frenzied aggression against Meghan this week, it was nice to see on Instagram as I was scrolling, Alexei Lubomirsky reminisce about taking Harry and Meghan's engagement photos.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Reshoot, where we revisit old shoots from the archive and find out the stories behind them. Today is Harry and Meghan's wedding anniversary, so I thought it was apt to tell you the story about how that all went down. This is part one, this is about the engagement, and part two will be about the wedding. It all started when I had flown back to England because my mum was having an operation. And so we all piled into the hospital. It was going to be a 10-hour operation. And the doctor said, I'll call you after 10 hours to let you know that everything went okay. So after 9 hours, 10 hours, spent the whole day walking around the hospital, just praying and eating sandwiches and coffees. And the whole day we'd seen on the TVs in the corner of the rooms, the news cycle of the day. And the news cycle of the day said, Harry and Meghan get engaged. But I didn't really take it in because I was thinking about my mum. So then after about 10 hours, nobody had called. 10 and a half hours, nobody had called. We were starting to get worried. And all of a sudden my phone rings and it goes, hello, is that Alexi? And I said, yes. And they said, hi, this is Kensington Palace calling. And I was like, sorry, who is this again, sorry? And they said, Kensington Palace is calling. We want to know if you do a project with us. And I thought, and then all of a sudden I suddenly remembered the news of the day about them getting engaged. And I thought, oh my God, my friends are pranking me. And I was just about to start swearing down the phone at them, saying, how can you do this on my mum's operation day? But I kept my composure. I took a deep breath and I said, sorry, one more time, who is this? And they said, it's Kensington Palace. We want to know if you'd be interested in doing a project. And so I said, yes, but can I call you tomorrow? So I took their number. Anyway, my mum operation went great. The next day I called the palace, and in 2 days after that, I was driving down to London to meet the couple to see if we vibed and to see if I would get the job of taking the official engagement pictures. So I went down with, as always, references. So I started off looking at old royal engagement pictures. This is the Queen Mother and King George. Because there are certain rules to royal engagement pictures. You can't have people licking each other's face and going crazy with the affection. You can see the ring. There has to be a certain elegance to it and a certain reservedness to it. So I started looking at these old pictures. This is Princess Anne's official picture. You can see the ring just there. So this was like the 70s, I'm guessing. So it was a bit looser. It was a bit less stiff. This was the Queen and Philip. So obviously quite sort of formal, quite stiff, not much affection. I mean, she's smiling, but you know. This is Princess Margaret. So again, you can see the ring. This was a little bit more informal as well. And then it came to this one. This was probably the most informal because they were hugging. There was showing some affection, and you could see the ring. So that was kind of an interesting evolution. This one I thought was really, really funny. This is Queen Victoria and King Edward, her son. And there's lots of stuff online about how she photobombed her son's engagement picture. And she's sitting in between the couple and she's looking at a statue or a bust of her dead husband, Albert. And so I just think this is such a funny one that there's, not much romance going on. So then I brought my references. Now, obviously I knew I wasn't going to get this, but I needed to aim towards something that had much more modern affection, less stiff. So I was bringing images like this just to give an emotion. Obviously I was never going to get them lying down on a couch, but it just gave an emotion. Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller. Again, just showing an emotion. I know I'm not going to get this, but just to lead people in the right way. This I thought was really beautiful. This was great. And again, it was a looseness I was looking for. I was looking for real, authentic affection. And this one. And this one. And then this one. I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted them looking at the camera because most of the pictures of royal engagement pictures have them looking at the camera, again, being quite stiff. Now, as I was sitting talking to Harry and Meghan and I was showing them the references, at one point I watched them as they were talking and they were sitting next to each other, and every time one of them spoke, the other one would look at them and literally glow. And it was so beautiful to see. When you're sitting next to somebody, a couple who are freshly in love, or they've just come up with some amazing news, they're going to get married or they're going to have a baby, and there's that glow to them. And they were just glowing, and they would look at each other and there would just be this twinkle. And I suddenly said, you know what? Forget all the stuff I'm trying to tell you, all these references. I just want to photograph you guys as you are. right? If you just give me a camera and let me follow you around for the day in Frogmore House, we'll just take some nice pictures and I might direct you a bit, but essentially all the magic is there in front of me. So I got the job. 2 weeks later, we were all rolled into Windsor Castle and into Frogmore House, and it was formal. You sensed this formality, and I wanted to break that. So we started off doing some pictures inside, which were just really huggy pictures, kind of like this. Pictures that you will never see because Harry and Meghan have those, and they weren't chosen for the final ones, but it helped me loosen them up. It helped me show them I'm not scary. I'm not going to sort of stick a big fat camera in your face and just say, perform. It was just about conversation, just like I'm talking to you now. It's like, hey, yeah, great, just you put her arm around there and yeah, give her a hug, give her a squeeze, and it loosened them up. So then we moved outside. So this was the first picture. Now, because this was the first one that we were doing, this was in a suit. I put a suit onto Harry because beforehand I think he was just wearing a shirt and it was more relaxed. And I said, this is probably going to be the formal one, right? We were trying to get 3 pictures out of it at the end. And I said, this is going to be the formal one. We got to see the ring. So you can see the ring there, up there. And it's more calm. It's more reserved. And then afterwards, we'll just do some looser ones. So this was one where we got the light right. It was a beautiful day in Frogmore House. It was November and it was sunny-ish, but there was a mist. There was an English mist. So it was a really low sun the whole day long. So there was no high light sort of giving them horrible shadows. It was just a beautiful low winter sun through this mist, giving it a nice softness. And anyway, so this is the first picture, and this loosened them up a bit, and they got into it, and they realized that it could actually be fun. After that, I just said, let's go walk around the garden. Let's just walk, because it's beautiful sunshine. And we walked and we talked, and I was just running in front of them, and I was taking pictures, and I was shouting things like, oh yeah, great, oh, hold that, now turn around, do it again, because I sound like that when I get excited. And then we ended up walking over a bridge, and I said, look, the sun was just going down, and I said, listen, let's just, I had this idea in my head, this reference, which was this one. This is Audrey Hepburn and Mel Ferrer, who was her husband. And I'd always loved this picture. I'd never used it before, but I always loved this picture of being wrapped up in somebody else's jacket. So I asked Harry, I said, do you have a big coat that we could use? So he brought out this coat. And I said, right, I just want you to wrap up Meghan and both face me. And it was gorgeous. And it was beautiful. The sun was going down behind them. There was golden light. It was black and white, but it was golden light. And I was just so excited. I was like, yes, this is great. And then I suddenly said to Meghan, can you just turn around towards him? So all of a sudden, Meghan turns around towards him. And her hands are in the jacket. And she's looking down like this. And all of a sudden, I can't remember what happened. Maybe he said something or I said something. And I think we were all nervous that they were going to kiss, because you can't have a kissing picture. But you could feel it. Everybody was deathly quiet on set, because it was like, oh shit, are they going to kiss? Are they going to kiss? And then all of a sudden, I think I might have said something like, make sure you don't kiss, which made them laugh. And then her hand came out of the jacket showing the ring. And there was this moment of just like sort of laughter between them. And it was so beautiful. And I was clicking. And I was going, yes, this is great. Just hold it there. Because I go super high-pitched when I get excited. And that was it. And I think I was so excited to get that picture because it was just such a beautiful moment. This picture ended up getting like billions and billions of views. And I think when I spoke to people afterwards and I asked, why do you like it so much? And they said all the pictures beforehand, people were looking at the camera and you felt like they were performing to the camera. This image, you felt like you were invited to see an intimate moment between them. Then we moved inside to do a very formal portrait, which was going to go into sort of formal things. And after that, these pictures just went everywhere. I was so shocked at how far they went. I knew they were going to go around, but I wasn't aware of the reaction we were going to get. And what was funny is when I was a kid, when I was like 9 years old, I used to collect stamps. So it was kind of a nice full circle moment when I got to have my pictures on an English stamp. And that is my story of the engagement.
It was also great to see young people preparing for their own wedding celebrations by incorporating Meghan's As Ever products.
In the pursuit of happiness.
Exactly, and I'm happy right now. I've got my wedding in 2 months.
Okay,
Which is
congratulations.
really exciting. Thank you. And we're gonna do a little brunch the morning before the wedding. We're gonna use some
crepe mix.
Some crepe mix
And from who?
It's, from Mrs. Meghan Sussexes. Have you always enjoyed cooking?
I've always enjoyed, especially like as a kid.
Yeah.
I would, for example, let's say whatever has been cooked at home, I'd find myself like going back to the kitchen and like adding something to it.
Yeah.
As a kid, it was very annoying for my folks.
I'm sure.
And you cook a lot?
No.
Okay.
Nathan
And
does
that's okay.
all the cooking.
Yeah.
I do the cleaning. That's my thing.
You always need a half and half.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I don't know how to clean.
I would like to get into it more.
We're done with the crepes.
I know.
So now we're going to quickly do some bacon and sausages.
Cool.
And I think we're going to be ready. Before we devour into the spread, I think it's about time we tried Meghan.
Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you to say this. Cheers.
Ooh.
Okay, let's have it with the
Okay, let's not put it on the
grapes now.
pancakes. Yeah. Oh, I really like that.
Meghan,
You did a thing.
you really did a thing. Ready?
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's go. That's good.
That's so good.
And while bitter and bothered women like Sourpuss Seward, Vanessa and their cohorts try to convince you that Meghan is really Satan in disguise, the Duchess of Sussex remains as unbothered as ever. See what I did there? While she attends to business as usual.
So I'm not sure if you've caught up on this week's episode of Confessions of a Female Founder, but it's such a good one. And it reminds me of that quote, "Wherever you go, there you are." That is what my conversation with Cassie is like, because 20 plus years later, so much has changed, and yet we are so much the same. So I hope you get a chance to watch. And in the spirit of memory lane, here are some behind the scenes videos from the making of our photo shoot for Confessions of a Female Founder.
So guys, I'm already conscious that this video is longer than it should be, so I'm going to try and keep it brief. Kinsey Schofield. This is how immature this woman is. Jenny Bond, who obviously is pro-royal, she's been in this game since before Kinsey Schofield was a concept. Correct response. You can't tell someone how to respond. There's no correct way or incorrect way. How someone feels about something is not subject to your approval. As far as she is concerned, the correct way should be to bash Meghan. And the fact that Jenny Bond spoke favourably of Meghan's show made her stutter and stammer all over the place, asking questions like, would Diana ever have done this? Diana could not cook. That was not Diana's forte. So why on earth would she be doing something like this if she had the opportunity? They are two different women. And with regard to this continual bashing, we talk about it every week, guys. But 3 million followers on Instagram within 5 months. What does that tell you? Piers Morgan has been on 2 million for the longest time, and I watched his count, his Instagram count, when Meghan hit 2 million. I think it was about 2.5 months ago, something like that. And I thought to myself, I bet this man is fuming. I bet this man is spitting feathers, because it's taken him years to get to that number. Within 5 months, Meghan has got to 3 million. And granted, some of those followers will be haters, they will be detractors, because they are watching her every move. Can you imagine someone posts a mood board on their Instagram account and it makes international news? I've never seen anything like this, guys. I tell you all the time. And this is the power that Meghan holds in her little finger, going about her business, but commanding attention unintentionally. Harry knew, as I've said before in the previous video, Harry knew that he was punching above his weight. He will be the first to admit that. And that's why he will never let her go. They are not codependent on each other. Harry was doing things before he met Meghan. Meghan was doing things before she met Harry. Independently, they are strong, but together they are stronger. And these people know it, and they are scared. They are wetting their pants. The Spare and his family are not supposed to be more popular than the heir and his family. That is the whole point. And that's why I brought up the thing about Margaret. As long as Margaret was living a broken life, she was not going to be a threat to overshadow the Queen. And they thought they were going to slot Harry in that same role. They didn't budget for all of this. And that's why they only gave Harry and Meghan 5 years, 7 years. That's where we are right now. The Sussexes being stable, their enduring stability, especially at this 7th year, which the symbols I believe are wool and copper. Copper for durability and strength, and wool for comfort and warmth. These two symbols match Harry and Meghan perfectly. The next marker is going to be 10. They're going to see if they reach 10. That's what these excuses for human beings are going to do. We've always known that they have been instrumental in trying to bring about the downfall of the Sussexes, but they cannot succeed because, as you guys put in my comments week after week, and something that I had to learn off by heart as I was growing up, no weapon. You guys know that scripture. You say it all the time. There are millions of people praying for this couple. Literally millions. When you have masses of people praying for you, these people actually don't understand how that works, but let's leave them in their ignorance. Let us leave them in their ignorance. Because for every missile that's been hurled at Harry and Meghan, and they're still on top, these guys are scratching their heads because they don't understand. They don't understand how Harry and Meghan are still here. Guys, it will be something else next week. So in the meantime, if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you shall catch me in the next video.